Thank
We
you
don't,
so much.
we're only going to talk about this for about 10 minutes to start with. And then we're going to go back to, to interviewing Craig, but we're going to have a meeting afterwards to talk about that. And that's a godsend because that's exactly what Martha was looking for.
Okay, so I'll just email it to you when it's ready. Is that fine?
Well, that's fine. Sure.
Or how do you want to do it?
No, that's fine. You can email it to me and I'll pull it back to everyone else.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll be listening in, but I won't contribute. I'll just be working on this.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Charlie.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Now, how good is that, right?
God's blessing.
That's right. Okay, we're live. This is Charlie Zeiss with Stargate Pyramids. This is Pyramid Quest for Monday, March 9th, 2020. Today's special guest is with us is Craig Morrin. We're going to be talking a little bit later in the program with Craig about his new book, which is Pyramid Blueprints for the Deluxe Giza, Equilateral, Nubian, and Russian meditation pyramids. He's going to be talking to us about his business, the pyramids that he sells, and his new book that he's put out. However, for the first 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to be talking about a show that I was on again on Saturday night with both Laurie Sasson, who you all know, and Marza Millar, who was on with us. Both of them are healers and are going to be taking a very active role in trying to look for specific frequency healings and protocols that can help with the coronavirus. So can everybody see my slides at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just by way of review, I was on this show. I asked Laurie and Marza to join me. I got a call from Richard. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So we didn't have a lot of time to do preparation in terms of, I did put out a notice about this, but for those of you who didn't see it or listen to it, if you look up at the top there, you can go to theothersideofmidnight.com. This was a 3-hour discussion with Sherry Edwards, myself, and Laurie and Marza, who talked about energy healing, sound healing, and it's a very fascinating discussion. So it's well worth it for you to take the time to listen to that. In terms of an update on the coronavirus, we're going to be developing some specific protocols to try to maximize the immune function. Laurie can talk about that briefly here in a minute. She's already been doing some work. She's done it on 7 or 8 people, including Carol, my significant other, who came back from Dallas yesterday with all of the flu-like symptoms and was healed in about 15 minutes. So we know that there's some very dramatic healing modalities that are available with the pyramid in conjunction with sound healing. Marza is going to be talking here just for a few minutes about the stuff that she's going to want to be doing as well, but both of them are going to be setting up and demonstrating for volunteers who care to participate with us the demonstration of the specific frequencies that Sherry Edwards, who was on the show, has developed for the elimination of the coronavirus as well. So just as for starters, if any of you are experiencing any flu or respiratory or other types of illnesses that you'd like to have some healing benefits with, or if you're concerned that you may have the coronavirus in particular, I want you to feel free to contact, and here's their contact information. We'll put this down in the comments section after the show today. You can contact Laurie Sasson or Marza Millar, and what they're going to be doing is Uh, the reason we're not putting these specific frequencies out there right now, we want to get some hard and fast data. We're going to be setting up some intake sheets, and we're going to start doing some videos, as you see here, in the next couple of days, talking about the results that we're getting from people who call in and contact both Marza and Lori. I've been, after the show Saturday night, I noticed this morning that on my webpage, stargatepyramids.com, I've gotten a large number of people who have joined up to join that forum just in the last 24 hours. So what I did was I set up a specific coronavirus forum page on stargatepyramids.com. If you want to talk and start some discussions about that, this topic on that page, that's what it's there for. I'll be monitoring those comments as well over the coming days. And this is a way for you to talk about experiences perhaps that you've had with either Marza or Lori as well, if you'd like to share those, and their healing methodologies. So before we begin, I just want to let Marza, we'll let Marza go first. Just tell people a little bit about yourself and tell them again, how they can contact you, and we'll have that again on the comment section.
Thank you, Charlie. My name is Marza Millar. I live in Nevada City, California. I've been working in allopathic medicine since I was about 18, trained in nursing and trained in alternative medicine, in Reiki, massage, hypnotherapy, Lomi Lomi. I'm a clinical herbalist, and I run a vibrational school, an herbal school in Nevada City. And we have a company called Rebel Alchemy and a teaching center called Ancient Earth Apothecary. I work with dowsing, I work with geomancy, and with frequency work. And we have a full vibrational clinic and a vibrational school. And we work extensively with frequencies. We work with vibrational water. We work with ley lines and earth grids, because the way we work is that we align our bodies, but if we don't align our homes or align where we live, then it doesn't hold our frequencies. So I teach and I work with aligning our environment, then we align our bodies, and from aligning our bodies, then it ups our frequency. And during this coronavirus, it's really important to keep your frequency up. Dense energy cannot enter the body if you are in a lighter energy, or if you have a high vibrational field. It's harder for that energy to penetrate into the physical body. So it's really good to be working with the sun transmissions. I just spent a month in Egypt and working with the sun transmissions there, and taking in the light is really important to activate your pituitary gland, activate your thymus with EFT, activate your pituitary and your pineal. And the pineal gland is most important, and also taking in the sun transmissions. And that is all part of taking in the light and then taking in the sound frequency. So you align your home, you align your body, you align into the environment of working with the elementals and the natural frequencies. So I use all of these teachings to bring a whole path of vibrational healing into focus when I'm working with a patient.
Perfect. And so we'll show you Sherry's contact information again. But if you'd like to contact, excuse me, did I say Sherry? Marza, over the next day or so, we're going to be doing videos based upon the results that Marza and Lori are going to achieve. So Lori, you might want to just give a brief introduction as well about what you do for those who may not know you. And I'll tell you, I know that my significant other came home last night from Dallas. She had been at an alternative healthcare conference, and she was presenting all the various signs of issues, and we did some pyramid sound healing, or Lori did with her, and she's back to normal. So, but anyway, Lori, just give a quick introduction, and then we'll go on and talk to Craig.
Well, here's Marza. She's been doing sound healings for over 30 years, and we were just having fun with our show last Sunday. My name is Lori Stassen. I'm a psychic, and I do healings. Actually, I'm the channel for helping people heal who they want to heal, who wants to heal themselves. I prefer saying it that way. I'm just a channel of sorts. And what I find so fascinating about this sound healing, which we have now recognized how powerful it is, we started just testing this last Monday, this theory, well, actually a couple Thursdays ago, with Bill, Charlie, and I, not recognizing that Mars has been doing this for 30 years. But I mean, we were just having some fun with it. And we recognized how the pyramid really intensifies the frequency when you have it within the pyramid, and where in the pyramid it's most beneficial to then enhance your frequency from going to a lower vibration, like Marza was talking, to a higher vibration. And she mentioned this on Saturday's show. It first comes into your spiritual energy before it gets to your physical energy. And so what we are doing is creating this huge spiritual energy that we found out it can go 33 miles. We did that with Carol yesterday,
Right.
That once we were done with her energy and she was within the pyramid, it felt like it was very encapsulated in here, but she steps out of the pyramid and it like shot out 33 miles all the way around her. Yeah. And what I love about that is not only is her vibration high and remaining high, but then it is also affecting other people like a ripple effect to also elevate others as well, or allow them to elevate if they feel like elevating. I mean, it's always a choice and it's always about intentions.
Cool. So yeah. Again, what I want to do, here's Lori and Mars's contact information. You may want to write that down. You can call either one of them. They're doing this as a public service, but if you get some healing results, I'm sure neither one of them would mind if you help them out a little bit. But anyway, we're doing this primarily for the benefit of humanity at this point, and we are looking for people to assist and act as volunteers.
Well, again, and let me reiterate what you're saying, because we're looking for people that are in serious situations that feel like they may have this and they don't quite know, and that maybe they've had the flu that's prolonged for a long time, that they just can't get out of it. Maybe some of the medication they've been taking hasn't helped them, that kind of stuff, because we could really identify. If we got every cold and flu person, we there's no way Mars and I would have the time, but right?
That's absolutely right. So, but you know, we're also looking for people to validate. So, you know, use your judgment, but if you have some illnesses that you're having trouble with, get in touch with both of them. So we're going to leave it at that for today. We're going to be putting videos out, as we said, over the next couple of days, talking about our initial results, protocols, and so forth. And please check back on the Stargate Pyramids YouTube page to find those as we produce them. So with that, I'd like to move on to our main guest for today, Craig Morrin. This is a picture of the cover of Craig's new book, Pyramid Blueprints for the Giza, Equilateral, Nubian, and Russian Meditation Pyramids. Craig lives in Washington State, in Yelm, Washington, and joins us today. And Craig, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We are a lot of people can have asked me over the months and years about building larger pyramids, wooden pyramids, and so forth. And so, as you know, I reached out to you late last year to see, because at that time you weren't doing the Russian pyramids, at least to my knowledge. As it turns out, you were doing them, but I just wasn't aware of it. So I mentioned back in December that you were going to be doing this book, and we were going to look forward to having you on in the future. So about 10 days ago, Craig contacted me, told me his new book was out, which includes all of the dimensions and the methodology for building pyramids of any sort. But I wanted to have him on today because I think this is a topic that's very timely for people who might want to avail themselves of the information we're getting on the coronavirus, but more importantly, just in general, are interested in having pyramids in their life. So, Craig, I guess we'll start with just asking you how you got interested in pyramids and how you got started in this whole venture.
You know, I've always had an interest in pyramids my entire life. I remember doing a report on the Great Pyramid back when I was, I don't know, in the 4th grade or something, and always kind of had that interest. And then back in the 90s, I was going to Ramtha's School of Enlightenment, and while involved in that, I listened to a specialty CD that he did on pyramids, which was incredibly fascinating to me. Ramtha talked about the history of the pyramids, why they were there, specifically about the Great Pyramids, how, you know, how there was an extraterrestrial influence. He talked about tunnels that connect the Great Pyramid in Egypt to other pyramids around the world. He also talked about supposedly how they work, and all that. So anyways, after listening to all of that, I was really interested in learning more about, interested in, like, he wanted someone in my community to build pyramids.
That's me. I apologize. Okay, sorry about that.
That's fine. So he wanted someone in the Yelm community to build pyramids, and had, I guess, a couple people that he wanted to do it. But then when I was there, no one was doing it. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to do it. And I didn't know anything about woodworking at the time, but I was just so impassioned with pyramids that, you know, I just had a big, long, strong learning curve, and had to, you know, trial and error, more error than trial, I think. But, you know, eventually I kind of, over the years, I've kind of figured it out, and it just kind of, you know, started selling, where I was selling them to my, you know, local community, but then with the internet, kind of just went from there. So, yeah.
Well, it sounds a lot like me. 4 years ago, I could barely spell pyramids. So you know, we're kind of in the same boat. So, you know, one of the attractive features of wooden pyramids is that they can be placed outdoors, probably a little bit easier than the pyramids that I make from PVC, just because they're going to be a little sturdier and more durable. So do you find that most of the people who are buying your pyramids or using your book and blueprints put these outdoors?
I think some do. With wood, though, you know, when it's outdoors, there's, you know, if it's not protected or maintained like a deck, then, you know, it can slowly start to, you know, gray or that kind of thing. But
yeah,
I mean, you know, people do both, and it just depends on what they do. Yeah, you know, I don't know, it was probably like 10 or 15 years ago. One of my super deluxe pyramids that I built for myself, and I put some plastic sheeting on the top part, and I would sleep in it, and I just loved it. You know, it was just some of the most peaceful sleep I could ever imagine. And
well, that's my question for you. When you started doing this, and you're going, okay, I'm just going to do this. If no one else is doing this, I'm going to do this. And you started doing it. What was the shape of the pyramid you started with? What was the first one that you did?
what I call the Giza dimensions, which is the same as the Great Pyramid.
Okay, and then how soon after did you do somewhat similar to the Russian pyramid?
Which would be the
So
Nubian is the closest.
76-degree one.
yeah, and so to be clear, like I haven't actually made Russian dimension pyramid yet. What I have started doing was the Nubian when David Wilcox started talking about it, and in his lecture that I saw, he was saying like about 72-degree slope angle. So that's what I had started making.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me ask you this: once you had the Giza and the 72-degree,
mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of curious, because what I've recognized, and Charlie can probably verify this as well, and Bill as well, is that once you start doing this is like a whole new level of thinking, a whole new level of everything. It's like, it's a game changer. Did you find that in your everyday life?
So my experiences when I was sleeping in my super deluxe pyramid was that I mean, it was just, first I will say that like there is just something about like just a subtle energy to it that is hard to explain what it, like how to describe it, but it's just something that for me was uplifting, I guess is the best way I can describe it. And for me, I found that sleeping in it, I would generally need like maybe around 2 hours less sleep each day, and would feel completely refreshed in the morning. Other things that I found being in the pyramid, like a lot of times I do my meditation or my focus in the pyramid in the morning, and like if I had an issue going on in in my life at that moment, and I was kind of just contemplating it, a lot of times I'd get these incredible thoughts in my mind that could be solutions to whatever is going on, that just seemed like out of the blue, like this didn't come from me. I also found like it just was really inspiring for just inspiring ingenious thoughts, and like again, like with like having ideas that were just like out of the blue, like, oh, this is a cool idea, I could do this or whatever, applying in my life. Those were kind of the biggest things that I noticed sleeping my pyramid.
Well, it sounds like you were already conscious as it is, because you're going to Rantham School of Enlightenment, which is huge. I would love to hear more about that, but this is about pyramids. So, did you then notice like either weight loss, or that you're eating different types of foods, or that you're finding that earth is so important? I mean, things like that. Are you finding that other things start changing in the way of your thinking as far as compassion and what is important as a whole instead of maybe as an individual?
It's more like holistic thinking as opposed to self-centered thinking. Is that what you're?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I don't. It was a while back when I was doing that for those couple years, and I don't know per se, like specifically with being in the pyramid, if there was a difference or not. I mean, during that time frame in my life, I had just been in this Ramtha school for maybe 2 or 3 years at that point, and my life was in chaos. I can tell you that much. And chaos is, in my opinion, a good thing, not a bad thing, because it it can pull up all the dross that is been fermenting in us, and to really allow us to be able to transform. So it was definitely a very transformative time in my life, that's for sure.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Well, Craig, maybe the first thing to follow up on something you said earlier, when we were talking about indoors versus outdoors, does it work to use pressure treated lumber to make these pyramids? Does that affect it at all?
I don't know the answer to that question. I've never worked with pressure treated lumber for a couple of reasons. One, I don't want to be breathing in sawdust that's been chemically treated and poisoned.
I don't blame you. I thought it was a question we ought to confront and ask people.
Sure. And I do, while I will not claim that I have like real great psychic abilities or whatever, but I do feel that the vibrational energy of pressure treated wood is not that great. And that's my personal feeling. And then the other issue that is that I believe pressure treated wood is treated with usually like copper sulfate. So there will be metal impregnated into the wood, which could potentially interfere with the energy.
Sure, sure. Okay, so all good things. If people are interested in protecting the wood, would you see any, if they're going to put it outdoors, any problem with putting a water sealer on it or anything, or would you suggest that they keep it in its natural state?
I think like a sealer is fine. For like my my deluxe pyramid and the pyramids that I sell that I kind of expect that people might have outside, I give my customers the option whether they want it coated with tung oil or a deck sealant. I do encourage them actually to go with the all natural tung oil because again, there are metallic pigments in the deck sealers that
tung
could
oil is a great
interfere.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, to talk about just the kind of the basics here, I've done a video to show people how to make, a pyramid for about 30 bucks, going to Home Depot and buying the parts. So just for starters, if someone were to make a pyramid, a Russian, or you pick one, but what would be the rough cost of your materials to build a 7-foot or 8-foot pyramid?
So the wood, like you would need about, I think it's like 13 or 14 2x4s. And those here where I live, those go for maybe, I don't know, $3 or $4 a board. So that's, probably less than $50 there.
Right.
You have to get some dowels. You have to get, which is a few bucks, not too much. Let's see, if you want to coat it with tung oil, that could cost, $20, $30, I think.
Okay.
Let's see. And then there's tools, like if you have all the tools, then that's not a factor, but if you have to get tools, that can add to the cost. Let me look at my book here if I'm missing any of the materials here. Let's see. This is my book, by the way, that I'm selling. And yeah, so let's see.
We're going to show people where to get that later in the show here.
Yeah, you need wood glue. But yeah, basically like it's basically, the 2x4s, the dowels, tung oil if you need that. So, probably less than $100 if you play your
That's
cards
all
right.
we're talking today is just give people a round number as to what they're looking at cost-wise to try to undertake this.
Yeah.
And then let's say I'm probably intermediate. I run a shop and I know how to run drills and saws and things like that to make these. So if somebody's got a moderate level of expertise, roughly how long do you think it would take somebody to take your book, follow the instructions, and make one of these?
So it's not simple. I'll tell you right now, it's not like you're gonna probably do it in a day. And this book specifically tells someone how to build my deluxe model in the different dimensions, whether it's the Giza, the Equilateral, the Russian, or the Nubian. It's using the 2x4s and rip cutting them and all that. And and it does take, it takes me a fair bit of time to build one of my deluxe pyramids. I think I would estimate it takes me, I would say 50 hours of work. So it's a lot of work. Yeah, wow. It's a lot of work. And for someone who's doing it on their own, who hasn't learned how to do this on a like I do, it is definitely involved, and you want to have the time commitment for it. It's not something that's going to take you a day, like I said. And in terms of skills, it's not actually, you don't have to be really that skilled of a carpenter to do this. And the tools, I show people how to make it with kind of the basic tools. You need a circular saw, you need a drill, things like tape measure and all that kind of stuff. But I do, like, I have two sections in this book. One is for like skilled woodworkers, where I don't go into every step of in detail, and kind of just give the real short, instructions, and they have the skills to be able to do it with those concise instructions. And then for people who don't have a lot of carpentry skills, I give, step-by-step instructions here. I have charts for, you don't have to calculate the sizes or the lengths of the pieces. And then I give like step-by-step instructions on how to do each step of the way. And I don't assume that the lingo or specific techniques. I explain every step of the detail, but every step in the process. So,
Sure.
but
sure.
it is an involved process. I mean, you would want to have a time commitment that you're prepared to do this for sure.
Well, now, if somebody is interested in building one, but for example, wanted to build, well, let me ask it this way: how tall a pyramid do you think people can make with the regular 2x4 setup and so forth? How tall are your blueprints? In other words, how big will your blueprints go?
So basically any size you want. For the Russian pyramid specifically, for those who want to build that, I would say you could build one 10 feet tall. I would say you could build one 10 feet tall and maybe even higher using just the 2x4 method, because the Russian pyramid is so steep. There's the issue is when it gets bigger is the span versus the height. So the 2x4s, might be pretty long, over 10 feet long, but they're not spanning across a long distance, so they'll actually hold their shape even with 2x4s.
Right.
If you're doing a Giza pyramid or any pyramid where you're getting probably wider than, honestly, with the Giza pyramid, 2x4s work probably up to 8 to 10 feet wide. But if you're getting wider than that, then I recommend for customers to use
Some kind of a cross brace or something.
No. You don't need cross braces. You just need to switch to 2x6s or 2x8s if you're getting really big.
Okay.
And then it's basically the same process. I mean, whether you use 2x4s or 2x6s or 2x8s, it really is the same process, and it goes through the details in my book how to do that. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if someone wanted to build, what's the longest piece of 2x4 that you can get at a Home Depot or a Lowe's? Is it 10 feet long?
16, I think, is pretty common. I know
16, okay.
Yeah. And at my local hardware store, they go to 20 and 24 feet.
Okay. So the length of the 2x4 is not going to be a practical limit for most applications.
Yeah, and as I'm thinking about it, I'm not 100% sure whether Home Depot goes above. Yeah, they do. I think they go to 16. Yeah, they go to 16 feet there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's going to cover the 95% of the applications I think that people are going to want to talk about here. But if someone wanted to build something even more elaborate, we were talking yesterday that you could assist people if they have a contractor or something like that who might want to build that for them. So you might want to just talk about that process and how you could, they could use your blueprints and then possibly consult with you to build a larger pyramid.
Yeah, sure. First, I'll say that, kind of part of my price and my blueprints is, if you have a simple question or some questions while you're building the pyramid, free to ask those questions, and I'm happy to answer them, no charge or anything like that. And a lot of times it's just a simple question. I can answer that pretty easily. If it's something more involved that someone wants, real consulting services, then yeah, I can maybe for $50 an hour kind of thing, talk on the phone and whatever. And you'd talked to me yesterday about what if someone wants to build a house, pyramid house, or with walls or whatever. And I will be very clear that I don't have that skill set that a contractor or a skilled carpenter has when it comes to building like something with walls, because when you have walls on a pyramid and it's outside, it's a whole new ball game. You got wind stresses and wind factors. You got to make sure you anchor it down. You got to make sure it has proper ventilation so you don't suffocate in there. You got to have a door. So there's a lot more involved that, you know, someone who's a contractor or a skilled carpenter would have that knowledge. It's just generally they don't have the knowledge of how to build a pyramid with the specific angles. So having my blueprints, you know, might be everything they need to be able to do it. But if not, and that you need more consultation, I'm happy to do that, you know, on the phone or whatever. So
Yeah. Okay. A question that just came to my mind, because I know I've done videos on how to do your measurements if you're making your own, trying to do it in a different size and so forth. I've looked inside and I've looked at the charts in your book, at least with respect to the Giza. I know that they're spot on accurate, but I guess what I'm interested in as a pyramid builder myself, when you figure your height to base length ratios and your angles and so forth, you know, my methodology that I teach people is that I figure this from the inside angle of the pyramid. In other words, the you know, to pick up this and show it, I mean, the wood is going to have dimension to it. So when you figure your height to base length ratio, do you do that on the outside of the pyramid piece of wood, or do you do it on the inside piece?
yeah,
What's the general methodology you use to get the angle and the ratios proper?
So yeah, it's tip to tip. So so like here's a diagram here where I give like the dimensions of each piece and how they are. And so like that, these are 2x4s that have been rip cut, and you know, there's a top view, and it gives, you know, it gives the angles for the end cuts, and it gives and it shows, like, you know, here it shows the length, like if you're looking at it through the piece, you know, the rip cut angle and whatever. And so it's actually the tip, the outside face, tip to tip are those lengths. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
It does, because see, your methodology is different than mine. You don't have connectors at the bottom, for example. And so, you know, as you said, you're rip cutting your angles. I just have pieces of pipe that fit into connectors. So the whole methodology is a whole lot different. So it seems like it's fairly straightforward exercise then to make those rip cuts, and the dimensions are going to fall into place just based on the ratios. So it sounds like it's not really that part of it a challenging exercise. In terms of other pyramids, you know, I know, for example, you've been building the Giza pyramids and the Equilateral, the Nubian before. What's been, I guess, the general feedback from people? I know these are quality items. What's been the feedback on the ones that you make for customers? And I guess where I'm going to, you know, for a lot of people, the decision to make their own versus buying one that's already made, it sounds like you're putting an awful lot of time and effort into it. It's one thing for people to make a mistake on my pyramids, because, you know, you just go buy another $2 piece of, you know, PVC and you move forward. But from you know, can you help somebody who, you know, with the idea of should I make my own versus purchase one from you? And, you know, just get, you know, so people will honestly know, you know, your pyramids are more expensive than mine, and they should be, because they're harder to make, and the you know, the materials. But just kind of give somebody your own impressions if you were going to be doing this. Obviously, you're serving two markets, and I'm just trying to get people to get an honest impression from you. What's the right way for them to go?
Yeah, I mean, like, your pyramids are very simple, and for someone who wants something, you know, done quickly and or even, you know, whether to buy one of my pyramids or your pyramid, or whether to make one of mine, you know, it's a lot quicker to buy one, right? And there is, as I said, there is a lot of work involved in building one of my deluxe pyramids, and it's something that, you know, if someone has that commitment and they really want to make their, you know, put their own energy into it and their own frequency into it, and to build their own, you know, really high quality pyramid, you know, then that's the way to go. But otherwise, you know, if you're not prepared to put a lot of investment of your time and energy into it, I would definitely recommend, you know, buying, you know, a pyramid either from you or from me or whatever, because yeah, it is involved for sure.
Cool. I'm looking at we have one question about the oil. You'd talked about tung oil. I'm used to that with fine furniture and so forth. Somebody asked about linseed oil. So I'll just ask you to comment on linseed oil as an alternative to tung oil.
Linseed oil works great if the pyramid is indoors, and maybe if you live somewhere like Arizona or something. Here in rainy, wet, rusty Washington State, if you use tung oil, I'm sorry, if you use linseed oil and you have it outside, it's going to get moldy. So linseed oil does not work to have it outside if it's rainy and wet where you live.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
But tung oil is great. I've used tung oil for quite a while, and for many years, and it holds up. It's not as, you know, you still like a deck, you still have to maintain it if you want to keep it looking good. You know, and it does require like maybe every year or so to reapply it. But other than that, it works really excellent for it. It's the best natural coating I found so far.
James, did you have a question?
James Triplett, did you have a
Yes.
question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Hi, this is Jim Triplett from Minnesota. Hello, Craig.
Hi, Jim.
I just wanted to make a comment on preserving the wood for outside use. I once saw a Japanese YouTube where they make houses that they char the wood, the outside wood, and it lasts for many, many years when they char the wood with fire. And so that is a way of preserving wood for exterior use for a long time wear.
How would that work? Like you make the pyramid, and then like how would that even
Well,
work?
you char the wood first before you build.
Yeah, before you build it. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that would be easy to do with a if you have a weed burner, like it's like a flamethrower,
Yeah.
and you just pass that over the wood back and forth. You don't want to set the wood on fire, but you want to gently build the char on the wood, and till you're comfortable with the amount of blackness that is on the wood. And I was curious, do you work with different types of woods, like the hardwoods or the softwoods? Do you notice any energy difference between the hardwoods? And
You know, I typically have been working with Douglas fir with my pyramids, as it's very abundant where I live, and it's a relatively straight wood compared to a lot of other woods out there. And I honestly don't know if Douglas fir would be considered hardwood or softwood. There's different ways they define that, but I kind of would say it's kind of medium in terms of hardness, you know, definitely harder than pine or cedar, but not as hard as like oak or whatever. And so my answer to your question is, I do think that each species of wood kind of carries its own energy, and I don't know if it specifically has to do with its hardness or not, what its energy is. You know, like another wood that I work with for my fold up meditation pyramids is radiata pine, which is from New Zealand, and it's harder than the typical pine that we might be familiar with, like ponderosa. And I just love the energy of that wood. I mean, for one, it's really straight, but also yeah, there's just something about the energy to it. So I don't have a real straight answer to your question, except for just my sense when I come across each particular type of wood. You're like, oh yeah, I connect with that one, or I don't.
Well,
you know.
I'm more curious in the different degree what difference the energy is, because that's where we have noticed that's a huge difference dependent on the degree.
Right. So for me personally, so like I've had a lot of experiences with the Giza pyramid, which is what I call Giza for the dimensions of the Great Pyramid, as I talked about sleeping in one, and then the Nubian pyramid, which I have started making in the last recent years. And my personal experience is that for me, the Giza dimensions are more peaceful, calming. When I'm focusing or sleeping in one, I just feel like I can get into a deeper meditative state or deeper sleep in the Giza. For the Nubian pyramid, my personal experience is that it's more revved up. It's got a higher active energy. And for me, I kind of compare the two between like classical music and, you know, really
Rock
active
or something.
rock or dance music, right? You know, and neither are better or worse than the other. It's just different
Right.
flavors,
Different
if you will.
tool. It's really a
Yeah.
different tool. And
Yeah.
so talk about what you're in right now. What is the shape that you're in that you created?
Yeah, give
All
us
right,
a
so
tour.
all right. So this is my little tiny home that I built 10 years ago, and I just built it out of materials out of the woods. I cut down just poles, dead standing trees, and just made, you know, I dug into the earth about 4 feet down, 4.5 feet down into the ground, and then I cement plastered the walls, and then I just built poles over the square hole. This is about I'd say 85 to 90 square feet home that I lived in for the first 7 years before I expanded. And so here's my skylight up top. Now this
And the degree,
pyramid structure that I made,
Craig?
so this is not a real fancy accurate pyramid. I tied poles together at the top, and I didn't even do like similar lengths. You know, if I were to do it again, I would do it differently, where I'd have more accurate angles. But there's no specific angle to this, and each side is different. And honestly, I think that because of that, I don't really actually notice or feel the energy, the pyramid energy in here nearly as much. I think there is something to having a really precisely built pyramid that really enhances it.
And that was
Yeah.
my other question I was going to ask. Did you build smaller ones with the same degree and use it outside in gardening or anything like that, that you could tell the benefits of something like that?
So I have done some experiments with pyramids on my own. I really, like over the years, it's been kind of on my to-do list, and then like 500 other things kind of get on top of it. And I haven't really done really involved experiments to my content yet. But so I have done some with some of my tabletop pyramids and others. And to be truthful, I haven't had any real consistent results from that. Like I would set up a control, I'd set up, you know, the experimental sample. You know, I did things like shot glasses of milk, you know, that kind of size. And yeah, I think that's what I usually did for my samples. And usually there wasn't like a real noticeable difference. There was one time where I had a result where it was actually interesting, because it was this particular experiment I set up with the 2 milk containers, and then I went to my aunt's place in Montana for a week, and then I came back, and it was like, you know, 7 or 10 days after the fact, and I came back, and I hadn't been really thinking about it, and then I look at it, and yeah, the control sample was really moldy, and there was like maybe 2 spots of mold on the other one, but they might not have even been mold. It might have been some little piece of something. So it was really interesting to me that, you know, and again, I don't know whether it just happened to be that way, and what the reason, but it was interesting that my energy wasn't focused on it in this particular experiment, which was the one difference. So
Sure. You know what, we've had listeners that this is what's really interesting, and this is what, kind of Bill and I have done, the energies of a Giza compared to an energy of a Russian pyramid, two totally different energies. And the Giza pyramid was not, I felt, I can speak for myself, I won't speak for Bill, was not a positive energy. And we've had listeners literally put fruit in it that it actually almost dehydrated the whole thing to almost keep it at a kind of like a petrified way, kind of just like
mummified.
Mummified. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. And then when we look at the Russian pyramid, it literally held it and kept it at the purest, like right form and didn't start overripening. So that was interesting. And so that's why I'm curious when you say how calm you feel while sleeping in the Giza. We have found that it almost gives you like a sense of dead, like you are literally like in this like dead state. And I'm curious, how has your health been since you've been doing these pyramids?
Okay.
Are you sick a lot? I mean, or are you not sick a lot? That kind of stuff.
So, and I guess to answer your question, I think the best way for me to answer that is going back to the time when I was sleeping in my full-on super deluxe Giza pyramid every night for like 2 to 3 years. And back then when I was doing that, I actually had a lot of health issues before doing that. I had I had what are called blebs in my lungs, which is could either be inherited genetically or there could be some sort of environmental thing. But and the end result is that my lungs could spontaneously, or one of them could spontaneously burst and then cause a partial lung collapse, which is not fun at all, I can tell you.
No.
And so I had a lot of these back in those days, and there were other things from the school, from Ramtha school, that healing techniques that I was learning, that I was working on as well. And they didn't go away overnight. Like I would have them happen often like once or twice a month, and then it would take like a week or more for them to heal on their own. And it was an ongoing thing for me, an issue. And but they did start to reduce in frequency over the years, and now like they pretty much don't happen at all. So it's something that maybe sleeping in my pyramid and focusing in it did have an effect. I believe so. I mean, one of the things that I really got from Ramtha's CD on pyramids is that the pyramid acts as an amplifier. It's a tool that we can use to focus our thoughts even more and to amplify our whether it's healing energy or a manifestation or whatever it is. It's a tool to be able to help amplify that. And so, yeah, I'm sure it did have an effect, in addition to the focusing healing exercises that I was doing as well.
And then I'm just kind of curious, did you go into the historic reasons for these pyramids in Egypt? Did you dive into that when you were doing your book?
The historical reasons? No, for these blueprints are more focused on just the how-to of that.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's a whole discussion in itself, right?
Sure.
Why they're here, and what could be the reason for that, for sure. Obviously they didn't find any dead pharaohs in these pyramids.
No.
As much as the experts like to say that they're tombs, no, I don't think so.
Right. And did you ever find that either weather changed or that there was more water once you started having these pyramids?
Well, I live basically right next to a wetland, so I don't know if I really want more water where I am.
Right. But we've noticed that the Giza seems to do that for whatever reason. If you look at the studies, they've had to literally drain pyramids before you could go in and look at them.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, they've had to pump water out of them.
Yeah.
And then after the Luxor was in Vegas, a whole bunch of people had flooding in all the casinos.
Really?
Mhm.
That is interesting.
Yeah, there's a pyramid that was a home that was built in suburban Chicago a number of years ago. The person, once they built the house, literally had to build a moat around the house because it pulled water up from the ground to that degree.
Interesting.
But anyway, Jim Triplett has a question for you. He's waiting. So Jim, take it away.
Okay, I just had a thought, really glad that you're doing this with wood because if you, I work with a carpenter and worked in a cabinet shop and been able to get some free scraps of hardwoods that are rough cut from the sawmill. And I got a bunch of it in my barn that now I know what to do with it. But these scraps, they cut them off the ends of the boards when they build cabinets. They come, 10, 8 to 10, maybe 12-foot long pieces that are about 7-8 inches wide, and you can, cut it cut it down to a 7 or 3/4 by 1 inch, and have your side and your base material to build a simple stick pyramid to whatever height you wanted to do it with. So if anybody lives near a cabinet shop, you might want to ask about scraps that they might be willing to give you or sell very cheaply.
So did you say that the scraps were like 1 by something, like only like 3/4
Yeah,
inch?
when they come from the sawmill, they're about 7/8 inches thick. And then when they cut them off the board, they cut off, say, about 1 inch from the edge of the board. So you got a stick that's 7/8 inches wide by about 1 inch or more. The other direction, the other
I see.
measurement.
So that, I'm sure you could, with my angles that I give, you could make something like that. But for doweling a pyramid together, like I show in my instructions, you need something that's at least over 1 inch thick and then 3 inches wide to be able to really do that securely.
Well, Percy could put 2 scraps together and make it, 1 inch and 3/4 or 2 inches wide, whatever you wanted.
Right.
You could glue them together that way
Yeah.
too.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So you dowel your corners together?
Yes.
Okay.
That
And
was
your
my next question,
Yeah.
actually. Good
And
thinking, Jim. If you could go through that process and kind of visually explain to people how each of these corners fits together with dowels, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and like I really did want to do doweling because Ramtha as well has said, don't have metal in the pyramid.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, screws and nails will interfere with the energy of the pyramid.
Of course.
That kind of thing. So for the doweling, so here on page 162 of my book, I have pictures of kind of the drilling process, and you can kind of see, that's the picture showing the end, like the pieces already have been cut, and so you're seeing the end of the piece where the end cut is, and you're drilling into the end cuts, and and I set it up so that you only need a drill, you don't need a fancy drill press to be able to do this, and you can see there's 2 holes that are drilled for each end cut, and you put the dowels in, and then they just connect together like puzzle pieces. Here you can kind of see the final 2 holes drilled, and so you glue dowels into one side of that end piece, and then the other would have the holes, and they just fit together like puzzle pieces, and you can kind of see like that would be at that joint there. So.
Kind of reminds me of putting together IKEA furniture.
Yeah.
Without the metal screws, of course, but yeah.
I do want to mention Michael Phillips was saying that pine vibrates 3 times more than most trees. And I have to say, I've always known if your energy is low and feel negative, or something might be going on with your energy, go underneath a pine tree and just sit there for a while, because it's it'll clear anything that's going on with you. Very easy and simple. And so that must be what's going on. You know, you said you felt different energies with different wood.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, the radiata pine that I use for my fold up pyramids, it's incredible wood. And it's, in terms of lumber, it's different from most pine wood that I've seen. Like a lot of the pine wood out there for lumber, well, not only is a lot softer, but also typically isn't as straight as like something like Douglas fir or this radiata pine, which can be challenging. Like if you're if you can make a pyramid out of pine, that's great, but make sure you find straight pieces of wood, because that's so important.
Right.
Yeah.
Jim's got another question for you on, looks like tip-to-tip measurements.
Yes, Craig, when you figure the overall measurement after it's all together, the upright piece tip to tip, do you, the base, whatever your base width is or height is, let's say it's an inch, do you subtract that from the upright, 4 upright corners for the overall height of the pyramid?
So, okay, I'm not sure what you're asking there. Why would I subtract anything?
Okay, well, with the measurements, to cut the wood to the proper length, the 4 corners.
Yeah.
Once you set that on the base, that will raise the length of those corners by whatever depth the base is. So do you subtract that measurement from the length?
Are you referring to the when you're saying the corners that are raising up, are you referring to the blocks underneath the pyramid? Is that what you're saying?
No, where the strut is sitting, the cut strut angle is sitting on the base, the top of the base of your 4 corners.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there's a depth there. Is that subtracted from the overall length of the struts?
So I'm not sure if this will answer your question or not. But here, here's one of the diagrams for the Russian pyramid, and I give the dimensions for the base length, yes, and then the leg length. And that's a specific ratio. So like the base is 1, then this leg length is 1.69. What'd you say?
2.058.
That's the height, but the actual.
I'm sorry. You're saying the leg length. I'm sorry.
The leg length, right?
Yeah.
2.17. So, or 8. So that's this. That's the. If you have the base that's this long, then your leg length is that long, and it's just a simple multiplication ratio. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. Yeah. Just keep on going. I'll figure it out.
Okay. Michael Phillips is asking Lori, do you feel the pyramids allow ancestral knowledge?
And I just wrote it back, most definitely.
Okay.
And that's what, Craig is saying here. The difference with Giza, it kind of puts you at a peace, and with the Nubian or the Russian pyramid, it gives you this knowledge. It gives you kind of downloads, if you will, and your mind is activated.
So Jim, are you happy with your answer at this point? Do you have any other questions?
Sorry, I had to plug it again. No, if I think of a question, I'll raise my hand again. Thank you.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks. Well, with respect to the comment from Michael Phillips about the pine, I guess energy flows, as part of the equation, but you say that you prefer fir, and can you tell us kind of your reasons for liking to use fir as opposed to pine or a hardwood on the other
Well,
side?
pine is softer too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's going to be a softer wood. And like you said, a lot of times you can't find it straight. So
Yeah.
I can completely understand that. And it may not last as long as some of your other woods that you
Yeah.
build.
Yeah. You know, one thing I would say, at least my truth at this point in time, is that I think a lot of times it has to do with our own personal resonance. So like, you know, a particular wood might resonate really well with me, but maybe not so much with you. And I think that, you know, we all have our own signature or frequency within ourselves. And sometimes it resonates with something that another person doesn't. So I can't overemphasize enough that, you know, if you yourself, like if you're making your own pyramid, if you yourself have a particular resonance with a particular wood, go with that, not what somebody else, you know, might say works for them. You know, always go with your own feelings. And also in line with that, you know, placement of the pyramid, you know, finding a ley line or finding an underwater, moving underwater source to put the pyramid over can be very powerful. But if we don't have that knowledge or ability to know or place, you know, wherever the spot is that you're putting it that resonates most with you is probably the most important, along with aligning it to true north, in my opinion.
Well, to follow up again on the wood question, when you
Uh-huh.
make pyramids, I know that, do you do custom pyramids? In other words, if someone wanted something out of oak or birch or, you know, whatever, can you work with all types of woods? And
Yeah, I definitely can. Some woods I will not work with because I don't want those trees to be cut down. Like
Okay.
redwoods, for example, I just respect redwoods too much to work with redwood, or, you know, some of the tropical ones in the Amazon I won't do.
Sure.
But yeah, otherwise for sure, absolutely.
So you have a source locally where you can get more exotic types of woods? Or,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
yep.
Perfect. So, you know, I'm thinking that might be fun to have you build a custom one at some point. Now I get into staining. Do you keep yours generally natural and not stain?
Again, I'll go with the tongue. I recommend the tongue oil, not a stain, because
Not a stain at all.
of the
Okay.
fact that they're metallic pigments. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
James has got another question.
Yes, just a comment. Many years ago, I saw a picture of, I think it was a Giza pyramid that was built out in the woods or on somebody's property that did not have an outer shell on it. It was just open, and they built it as a garden. And they had, I think, 2 or 3 levels that they put grow boxes in the pyramid and grew vegetables. And I guess they grew some really tremendous vegetables from that pyramid. So just it must have been at least 12 or 15 feet tall or more. And so it's.
And which shape was it?
I think if I remember correctly, it was more like a Giza pyramid style.
Yeah.
And it had floors to it, like it had a second and a third floor as it went up. There was probably you know, maybe 5 or 6 foot space between each floor, and there was a ladder between each floor that you could go up to each floor, and then there was grow boxes around the outside or on the inside edges of it that were growing vegetables, and I guess that was their garden. And
Craig.
also, you know, that Wallapini, Craig, that Wallapini pyramid that you're sitting in now, that would
What
really
you call, wait, what'd you call it? A what?
Wallapini.
A Wallapini pyramid?
Yeah.
What is
It's
Wallapini?
okay. You got a subterranean walls there, right?
Yeah.
Of
Yes.
4 feet deep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Andy Indians lived up, you know, lived in a very high altitudes where it was very cold, and so the only way they could grow food there was in Wallapines, and they were subterranean greenhouses that they dug down about 8 feet
Ah.
walls, and then they covered the top with a material, to shed the water. And it kept it stayed from being it didn't freeze in the wintertime in those Wallapines.
Interesting.
And so in Nebraska, I visited a Wallapini guy that's he's got a YouTube on it, and that has built one that's 4 to 5 feet in the ground, and it has a covering that they grow miniature dwarf fruit trees in there, like oranges and tangerines and bananas.
Where in Nebraska is this?
This is at the North Platte Research Center,
Okay, thank you.
and I've been there and visited it, and it's amazing what they grow, especially in the wintertime. And Lori, I got your email. I'll send you the links to follow up on that.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So anyway, just some ideas. What could be done with a pyramid?
Well, what I'm doing now, I'm taking us to Craig's website right now, so you all can familiarize yourself with it. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So Craig, you might want to talk just a minute about your business and your website here, and I'm happy to direct people to wherever you'd like them to see.
All right, first, Charlie, scroll down to the bottom of this my homepage. I don't think I have well, do I have a beard? I don't know. I can't.
Well, no, maybe it's a mustache. Maybe it looked like a mustache. Maybe I was wrong. Yeah.
Anyway, maybe I needed to shave or something. I don't know, but
sorry about that. But anyway.
That's okay. Okay, so if you go back up, yeah, so this is my website, precisionpyramids.com, and if for those who are interested in purchasing my blueprints or learning more about it, you can click on the blueprints there on the top.
Oh, come on. I don't know if
No,
I'm having,
Craig, you orient yours to
I've
the
got a slow internet day going here. Here we go.
Hey, Jack has a question.
What was that?
Do you orient yours true north or magnetic north?
So Ramtha has always said to do true north. He said for metallic pyramids, they should be aligned to magnetic north. I know, so I've always kind of gone with true north. However, I am aware that, different researchers have different results. So like, for example, Patrick Flanagan. Well, wait, let me step back for a second. Another reason why I kind of think true north is like, for example, the Great Pyramid is to within 1/20th of 1 degree to true north. There's probably a reason for that. But other researchers have had different results. Like Patrick Flanagan has said that his research has shown that you should align a pyramid to magnetic north, even if it's a non-metallic pyramid. So what I tell people or customers if they ask is try both, experiment, see what works best for you. But I personally tend to go with true north at this point in time.
Okay. And at this point, it's really not much different. So I think the theory that I work with is that, magnetic north has changed over the millennia, and it may be that, ancient Egyptian pyramids were oriented that way because magnetic north may have been there. But like you say, everybody's got a different feel,
Mhm.
and I think the only way to do it is experientially.
Well,
Yeah.
Charlie, the magnetic North Pole is moving very fast now, so it probably doesn't make
Well-
sense to do that right now.
And I'm curious, when you have like a smartphone, is it just going with the magnetic north then?
Depends on your app, Lori. Some of the apps are just pure north, some are
I see.
magnetic north.
Okay, I'll have to check that.
Yeah, the one that I tell people to use, which is Compass 360 Pro, I think, it has
Okay.
both magnetic and true north.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yeah, so
Craig,
this is the blueprints page, and it, you know, it shows some of the pages, and people can learn more about it from there, about my blueprints. Yeah, and you know, I have yet to update this page for my new book that has, you know, my older version it was just for the Giza dimensions and the Nubian dimensions, but you know, now it's all for the Equilateral as well as the Russian, as well as Giza and Nubian. But yeah, so that's my blueprints page. If for those who might be interested in seeing what kind of different pyramids I sell, they can go to the purchase link up there next to the blueprints link.
here, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Now, when we get there, I want to talk about connectors as well. So, but
yeah, so I sell solid wood paperweights. I sell fold up cardboard pyramids of Nubian, Giza. Russian's on my list to do. I just haven't gotten around to it. I sell fold up hardboard pyramids. Those
Let me ask you something, Craig, because I've felt this ever since the show started. Do you have issues with your lower back?
I have at times, for sure.
Because even when we're looking at these pyramids, it kind of intensifies. So it's kind of interesting.
What intensifies your
lower back issue?
My lower back issue is intense.
Yeah, we can talk about this off
Sure.
Stream live, and
Yeah.
we'll chat about that, and
Sure.
we'll see if we can't clear that up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me where to go next, Craig. You want me to keep going, scrolling down the page here?
Quickly you can. And so,
Yeah.
like, I have the fold up tabletop pyramid. I have the fold up Nubian meditation pyramid.
Tell me how the fold up works.
So it's a rope base at the bottom, and it's 2x2s, and then up at the top at the apex, there's holes drilled through where there is strong cordage that is wound through the holes at the apex, and so it just folds up and opens up like an umbrella.
Sounds kind of like my zip ties at the top. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Same idea. Okay.
I have a corners kit for the Giza pyramid. I'm working on other dimensions as well now that I have a 3D printer that I'm sort of figuring out. And then I also sell a 12-inch stone pyramid, which can be both in any dimension, actually. It could be Giza or Russian, which is made by my neighbor. He has an incredible stone cutting machine that can do incredibly accurate cuts. Yeah, you can keep on going down. It's just, then I eventually get down to some of my more expensive pyramids. I have a copper capstone. I have my 2x2 Giza pyramid, my deluxe Giza meditation pyramid there, which is what the blueprints show you how to make.
Okay.
The Nubian Deluxe is there, as well as then at the bottom is the custom built ones for people who want a specific size, and my super deluxe pyramid.
Got it. Got it. Oh, there's the cross. I knew I'd seen cross braces at some point in these pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which my blueprints do not show you how to build one of those. That's an extremely complex pyramid that is almost too complicated for me to be able to build. It's pretty involved. So
now, Craig, we've also noticed you don't necessarily need to go all the way up to the point with these, and you could like come down about a foot and just kind of have a cap off of that. Have you ever tried it that way?
I haven't designed one to do that. I'm sure that's true, though. I imagine that would be true.
So Craig, finally, can you tell us, I'm up at the top of the page, where do people go to purchase the blueprints on your website?
So you would just click on any of those, the blueprints, where that first page where you had, and you just scroll down, and there's a buy button to do that.
Okay, so let's go back there and just go down to, is it at the bottom of the page?
Yep.
Buy now, there you go.
Yep.
And there it is. So this is this is where you want to go if you're interested in getting the blueprint book and or custom or stock
Blueprint.
pyramids
Right.
that Craig makes for sale. So anyway.
And there's also, and Charlie,
Oh, that's right. I can go back. I can go back.
I just
Not a
really
problem.
quickly, just really quickly, I wanted to mention also that there are also cool links on my website. Like if you go to the links page, one of my first ones is a person on showing how his pyramid that's running a fan off of free energy. And he gives precise instructions, step-by-step instructions how to build a pyramid like this to be able to make something that can run on free energy, which is pretty incredible.
Say that again, Craig.
Yeah.
Are you saying that
Yeah.
this pyramid will produce free energy?
Yeah, if you go to my pyramids links page and you start playing that video, you will see a fan running inside the middle of this pyramid, and the pyramid is raised up, and you can see there's no wires connecting this fan to any electric source, and he's running a fan through the energy.
What's the degree of that one?
It's a Giza pyramid, I believe.
Well,
Okay.
but is it this first one that I'm showing right now, Craig?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Well, God bless you. We're going to be wanting to do this, and I've got someone who's not on with us today who's looking at trying to replicate this. So we're going to try this with I'm going to watch it, and we're going to try to do this.
Can you play
ourselves.
any of it right now, Charlie?
I could.
Okay, let's just check it out.
Yeah, it's like the first. Yeah, there it is.
So now I want to go around with you for a fake check. Small area one. Check, so want to show it from all sides. You can search for cables or wires or something like.
Yeah, so he's showing that there's no wires connected.
I feel like we're watching a NASA video. This is great.
Yeah, so that fan is running off of the energy of the pyramid.
This is fantastic. So you connected a coil and then you connected the connector to it to give it.
This is not me. This is somebody else who did this.
This is fantastic. We will definitely want to interview this person.
Yeah, if you can find him, he may be hard to find. He's had some issues in his life potentially because of him showing this, but
oh, we don't have to show his face, that's for sure.
Oh, he's not afraid of showing his face. He's not afraid of showing who he is. But anyway, yeah, I'd love it if you could find him and do that. That would be awesome.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, so this is part 13 of the whole series of videos where so this is the end result, and he goes, part 1, this is what you get. This is the first things you need to do. Part 2, each step of the way to build something like this so you can do it yourself and not take his word for it that this is actually for real.
Oh, Charlie,
definitely.
I think you've got a project coming along.
Well, who's that? That's Rob Woolfield who we're going to get to do this.
Well, I mean, this is instructional videos. I mean, we can do this ourselves.
Absolutely. So, well, we're going to stop here because I could watch this all day, but we're going to want to definitely do this. And I'll, Craig, one of the things that I have done as a researcher has been to find this geometry of the Russian pyramid throughout the world on tops of buildings that many researchers are saying were originally power plants. So, I definitely am going to want to check this out. Now my ignorance, can we find this video on YouTube? It looks like it. We can probably
I would go on to YouTube to watch it there, and then I think from there, they have all the other parts to it. Is how
Fantastic.
yeah.
Okay, and Pyramid of Life, I know these folks, these are the Russian pyramid folks, and so that's interesting as well. So you've got some great stuff here, and we're definitely going to come back and look at the free energy aspects of this in coming weeks. That is just a gold mine. So
The other link on my page or a page that I would encourage people to check out is the Mythbusters link there. It
Okay.
really, it's really, so the Mythbusters did a thing on pyramids where they tried to bust pyramids, and they believed that they actually did bust pyramids. But when I actually watched their episode and I really looked at it closely, it's some of the most impressive pyramid results that I've seen done by scientists who are not going to be biased in any way. Well, actually, they'll be biased the other side. So, and I go through on this page, you know, the different things that they discovered in the results of their experiments. And even though they thought they didn't really have anything of value or significance, my research shows that they did. So that's a fascinating page for people to look through as well, to see the results of the Mythbuster experiments that, for me, I thought were fabulous.
we'll definitely
Well, and you
check
do
that out as
wonder
well.
if maybe they were also possibly only allowed to show so much on that show.
Well, they had an agenda. I mean, you know, scientists, generally speaking, are not unbiased, and it was very clear to them. It was very clear to me that they have their agendas, they have their beliefs going into the experiment, which is not how a scientist should be. And I mean, you can see kind of, you know, like there was one experiment in particular where, you know, they cut an apple in half and they put one half inside a pyramid that they made and another one in the control outside. And the side got, you know, completely rotten, where the one inside the pyramid was doing just fine. And they did their own way to explain what happened there that made it so they could nullify that experiment. But it was very clear that they were coming from a very biased point of view. And it's a great episode to review with discerning eyes.
Well, now, Craig, if you see that the viewership on your website jumps up today, you know, remember us, okay? This is fantastic information. I'm kidding, but this is wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like us to look at on your website?
Feel free to look through other things, kind of just peruse on the more link there. I give my perspectives on the different pyramid dimensions and their differences. Yeah, that's basically it. Just have fun and look through it and whatever. Yeah, I think it's all good. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Wow, what an amazing end to this discussion, to find a free energy application with pyramids. This is just amazing.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably about time for us to wrap up here. Craig, we've really enjoyed having you on the show today. What
Likewise.
a fascinating website information that you provided us. And I can't wait to start hearing back from people who either order your pyramids direct or make them from your blueprints. So if you'd like, do you have some parting comments for us, Craig?
I think I would just go back to the few things, like, you know, I see pyramids as a tool, not something that we should give our power away to, but that it can be used for our benefit if we apply ourselves with an intention. And also the other important thing I would say is, you know, to go with, you know, there is no particular, in my opinion, there's no particular dimension that's the best dimension. And there's no particular necessarily best way to align a pyramid or where to put it. Go with what resonates with you. I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. No better information than that. So Lori, Bill, Jim, anybody with final comments before we sign off?
I do have a question about frequencies.
Okay,
If you,
go ahead.
do you need to say the frequency that, or the speaker that's emitting the frequency in the pyramid, or can it be just sitting outside the pyramid and you're hearing it?
I'm
You
gonna
know,
let Lori answer that if
can I
possible.
say something really quick without?
Yes.
So I don't have a lot of knowledge in this area to answer the question well, but the one thing I will say is my recommendation would be to have the speaker outside the pyramid because of the fact that there's a lot of metal in that speaker, and it would be likely to absorb a lot of the pyramid energy. That's the only thing I will say to that.
Okay. We've been doing some
Well,
research.
and we did not test it. Yeah, we did not test it outside the pyramid.
We have not yet, no. So maybe that's part of the protocols that we'll try with you and Marza going forward. That's actually a very good question, Jack.
Right.
So Jim, is there anything else you'd like to add at this point?
I did look up on Google, Craig, that Douglas fir is considered a softwood, but a very strong one.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. Jim has another comment on constructing a Giza greenhouse. Go ahead, Jim.
No, I already asked that.
Oh, you got it already.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, not a problem. Well, I think we're about out of time for today. As always, I thank everyone for watching Pyramid Quest here on the Stargate YouTube channel. And I particularly want to thank Craig Morrin for being with us today. We've learned an awful lot of really neat information. And hopefully we can have you back at some point in the near future, particularly after you've had a chance to build one of the Russian pyramids and test it out. So as always, we thank you for watching, and you have a great day.
Thanks, Charlie.
Bye.